141,000 Americans die from the effects of alcohol on average a year. That's according to the National Center for Drug Abuse Statistics. 1 out of 10 Americans struggling with substance use disorder. And April is Alcohol Awareness Month. It's a chance to talk about the dangers of alcoholism, I should say. And addiction expert Scott Silverman is here now to talk about this. The CEO of Confidential Recovery. You've been sober for decades now, Scott. Tell us, first of all, good morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And yeah, tell us about your story if you could, because I'm sure your story has helped so many people who've been struggling.
Well, one of the things that happens in recovery that's important is you find ways to give it away so you can keep it. And I've been, continuously sober for a little over 38 years now, 38. Way before you were born. And
I wish, but no, that's not true.
Well,
but okay, so
it's my story. I get to go in it.
Yeah.
It is. And so what I've always done is try to be of service to others. And then I got into the profession of helping others, and I've been doing that now for decades. And my goal is to just help families, navigate getting their loved ones into the highest and best level of care and support, because there's just no reason for it. When we talk about diabetes, it's fully acceptable. When we talk about alcoholism, we talk about drug addiction, the stigma is there, and people think, well, gee, if you just stopped drinking, you wouldn't have a drinking problem. Mm-hmm. And that, unfortunately, is not true.
Describe that, because I think that's such a big part of this. It's not that person's fault necessarily, right? I mean, describe what someone's going through when they're trying to quit, but they can't. I mean, what is that struggle?
Well, the thing I like to point out that's real important is that, first of all, it's a disease of addiction. Mm-hmm. I believe that. Up to 15% of our country has it. They're predisposed, they're born with it, they don't get to flip a switch, it's kind of there. 15%. And diabetes, when you think about it, it's the same thing. You don't get to flip a switch, you're born with it, and if it's in your family, sometimes that contributes to it. And at the end of the day, nobody raises their hand and says, hey, I'd like some diabetes, I'd like some cancer, I want a disease of addiction. So it's not their fault. And I think if people understand that, not only can they be a little bit more compassionate, but also they can help them learn and understand and know that the pain that they're suffering, the family suffers, because it is a family disease. It's pretty rare you talk to somebody and says, oh, you remember Uncle Jimmy, every time he came to a party, there was a problem. Well, other members of the family could have done things to help Uncle Jimmy. And that's what I try to do, is get the family positioned to say, let's get our loved one into the highest, best level of care. And if they're not willing, let's challenge them to some things they need to do to help themselves. And if they don't know how, we'll help them if they'll let us. But if they won't, sometimes you have to put your foot down. Okay,
because I will say, I mean, thinking 15% of our country is, dealing with this. They may not even know that is the disease they're dealing with. What should they look for? I mean, what are the signs?
Well, one of the things the person suffers from is a disease of denial. Yeah. So they don't even believe they have a problem. And when you talk to a lot of people and families, they'll go, well, I talked to my husband and he just wouldn't listen. Well, he doesn't think he has a problem. And that's part of this disease of the mind that you really have to find an expert that can help you navigate it. Look, if you broke your leg, you wouldn't go on YouTube on how to set it. Right. You'd get to the emergency department, you'd have it fixed. Same thing with a tooth or any other issue that takes place. You go to an expert, and you have to do that with this. And today, with fentanyl and all the other things that are growing, and the overdoses taking place, we really have to help our loved ones understand that the choice they're going to make, and in a time of unusual environment or a special time or at a party, they have to have some good common sense around it. So how does someone help someone? They listen and they understand that, something's going on that they can't help. They have to go talk to an expert, their primary doctor, even a faith-based leader, someone in their community, or maybe a family member who's actually suffered with it before. Meaning, don't do it alone.
Right. Right.
Don't try to fix yourself alone. Don't try to help yourself alone if you suffer from this disease. And an interesting statistic, of the 15% who are impaired on a daily basis, they will negatively impact 7 people every day.
Wow.
Whether it be a family member, someone on the road, someone at work, a loved one, a colleague. So when you think about that, that's 85% of our population
impacted by this.
That can be impacted on a daily basis by people. And then when you factor in COVID and people having to, be home and stay home, the bottom line is things have amplified. Mental health issues today are higher than they've ever been, and it's harder to get help.
Scott, we are out of time here, but tell us real quick how people can reach out if they want help. Who can they contact?
Well, you know what? Contact me. Make it easy. 619-993-2738. That's my number. You call me. I'll get you routed to the right place.
Thank you so much for sharing your insight.
Thank you for having me.
And we